What's up, everyone? All right, well, you better get used to me wearing this sweater because I'm sitting today up $40,000. Now, today I peaked at 52,000 and I gave back 12,000 off the top. One of the things that's always sort of a question on days like today is, when do you walk away? Now, my daily goal is $5,000. So some people would walk away as soon as they hit their daily goal. And you know what? As a beginner trader trying to build a track record of consistency, there is nothing wrong with that. But as a more seasoned trader, if you hit your daily goal in one trade at the very beginning of your window when you typically make the most money, well, that might be a day where you have the potential to 4x, 5x, or even 10x your daily goal. And it only takes a few days like that to really put a huge dent in your monthly goals and even your annual goals. In fact, just this week, right now I'm sitting up a little over $200,000 on the week. That's 20% of my profit on the year because today I crossed over $1 million of gross profit on the year. So 20% of my profit on the entire year has come from just these last 5 days. Wow. I think that speaks to the importance of showing up every single day because you just never know what's coming around the corner. I didn't see drug coming, right? This crazy move that we had here on drug, that was unexpected. I'm grateful for it. I think I did pretty well trading it for the most part. Up 16,000 on drug today, up 13,000 on SOBR, up 9,000 on PEGI, up 2,000 on ATNF. I mean, across the board, I'm green. PEGI, I gave back a little bit of profit on, and drug, I gave back a little profit on. And actually, I have a red trade here. Let me zoom this or scroll this down. Red on AIFF. Drug was the one that I gave back the most on. And I gave back profit on drug both at the open, right in here. I was looking for that squeeze through the high, and I gave back profit right here, and I gave back profit right here. I kept thinking after these halts that we would continue, but we kept halting up and then kind of stalling out, which was sort of interesting. So anyways, the cleaner moves for me on drug was actually this move right here. I don't think I traded this one. Now I can't remember. But anyways, we had a couple of nice clean moves on drug. And so, well, let's go over the trades for today. All right, so let's back up here. We're going to go back to the very first trade of the day. I sat down this morning a little skeptical about what we were going to get for action because, well, it's Friday, you know, the end of the week. I wasn't sure that we were going to have any big breaking news headlines today. And in fact, we really didn't. Most of the setups today were not fresh breaking news. So yesterday, after hours, you guys did get a little bit of action. You had a couple stocks that popped up. PEGY, P-E-G-Y. This one squeezed up. Oh, no, this was just pre-market. SOBR, that's the one I was thinking of. SOBR, this one squeezed up in a big way after hours from $8 to $28 a share. Dips down, 4 a.m., right back to 28. And then right here at 6:30, it goes back up to 20. And then right here, we got this bounce back up to almost 20. And then another one right here to here. So I actually got some trades on this move here and this move here, which was pretty good. You know, SOBR, I wasn't sure how well it was going to work, but we had this ascending support trend line kind of right in this area. And so I got this nice dip here. I saw some people call it out and they said that they were watching it off of 1480. And I pulled up the chart. I saw that it bounced off 14, came back up. As I prepared my order to buy at 15, it popped up to 1520. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take it. Got in at 1520, added at 1570, added at 16. It goes up to 17. It goes up to 18. It goes up to 19. Boom. That's a $10,000 winner just like that. Unbelievable. Like, this price action is so powerful. These moves are intense. So picked up $10,000 on SOBR, but my first trade of the day was actually on PEGY. All right, so first trade of the day was on PEGY, P-E-G-Y, and this was at 7:03 a.m. So 7 a.m., you can see PEGY kind of squeezes up just before 7, pulls back, and then comes back up right here. I got in this at $9. It breaks 9, it goes up to 10, and it goes up to 1071. I bought 4,500 shares for my first trade. Now remember, 5,000 share max position till I'm up over $1,000. Boom, made $5,000 on PEGY. First trade of the day, daily goal. So once again, I hit my daily goal here at like 7:04 a.m. All right, 4 minutes into the day, pretty much, which starts at 7 a.m. So I could have walked away right then and there and say, you know what, you hit your daily goal, but I wouldn't do that. At my level of experience, when the market's hot like that, it's time to dig deep, it's time to increase size and start to get aggressive, and so that's exactly what I did. So Peggy was my first trade. Second trade, got another trade on Peggy, a couple trades on Peggy, was in and out of it in that area. And then the next stock I traded, after getting some nice trades on Peggy, was ATNF. Now, ATNF is the stock that I traded just the other day. It had this really powerful squeeze on breaking news. And this morning, all of a sudden, it starts to pop up right here. And I got in at 5 thinking, well, it's kind of a dead cat bounce. And technically, it's a first daily candle to make a new high. So I'm looking at the daily chart and I'm thinking, yeah, first daily candle to make a new high right here over 5. That could give us a bounce. Now, I don't know how much it's really going to bounce. It's a dead cat bounce. It's not my absolute favorite setup, but it did push all the way up to about $6 a share, and I pulled about $2,000 of profit off of that one. All right, so that was 713. So now I'm up 7,500, 15 minutes into the day. 723 drug. All right, so drug comes up, and so this was that first move, 723. This was right in here. So drug squeezes up right here. It pulls back, and as it pushes higher, I got in on this candle right here. This is the big green candle. I was adding here as it broke over $30 a share. So let me back up my orders. So I got my starter at $29.26, 250 shares, not a huge position. But I added to 500, then I added up to 1,000, and then up to 1,500, then up to 2,000, then up to 3,000 shares, and I actually went all the way up to 4,000 shares. So I was adding as this was squeezing higher, and this thing ends up going from $26 a share to $34 a share. So with 4,000 shares of this, once I was fully scaled in, I was able to pull out $10,000 of profit. So about 2.5 points was my average. Not bad, 10,000 bucks is pretty good. But that was my trade on it. It pulls back here, comes back down, and I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe that's it. Now, drug did have news. The news that it had was, let's see, let me pull this up. There was a headline at 6:50 a.m. Let me let this load for a second. So, what am I looking for? Where's this? Oh, there it is. Sorry, it was just loading kind of slow. All right, so we'll give that a second to load. So the news was a private placement raising $5 million, and it was priced at, I believe it was $21, and what was it? $21. Sorry, my computer's been like a real pain today. It was $21 and something cents. Anyways, it doesn't matter. So that was the headline. So I was like, all right, well, and raising, basically they found someone willing to give them $5 million for shares at $21 a share. So that kind of put in the floor on the stock, and then it pops up shortly thereafter. So we got that first pop, and then on the second move right here, it starts to pull away a second time. So I got back in, and on that move, I made about $15,000, putting me up 25,000 on drug. Now, unfortunately, as you can see, well, I gave back some of that profit. I pushed it. I took the risk. I pushed it. I gave back some profit. And, my kind of rule of thumb is certainly walk away if I give back half of my profit on the day. And since I gave back about 15%, 20%, I said that's probably a good enough spot. So I gave back a little bit up off the top here, a little bit on this candle, about 4 or 5 grand right in this area. And then I missed the halt up. On resumption, I take small size because I'm a little nervous. And then I add for a bigger move here and it rejects. So I then lose what I had made. And then it halts up. I missed that halt up again. So then it resumes. I try to do a dip and rip and it just sort of stalls out. Now, this may very well go higher. And there's a part of me that's tempted to stick around and try to keep trading it, especially if it breaks over $59.86, which was the high from the other day. But I also, the challenge as always is knowing when to walk away. And I have given back some profit. And if I walk away right now, I've got $40,000 in my pocket. That's $40,000 more than I had at the beginning of the day. And I did that in one day. So if for some reason that's not good enough, then I guess I'm going to keep trading. But if I can be content that this was a really solid day at the end of a really solid week, then I should probably just call it. So if we look at the month of October here, what's crazy is how this month has turned around. 14,000 on the first week, 14,000 on the second. My weekly goal is 15,000 a week. So those were good weeks. They came up a little shy of, just a teeny bit, but, pretty good. And then all of a sudden this week, 103,000 on Wednesday, 35,000 there yesterday, 40,000 today. That's 200,000 bucks on the week. You got to be kidding me. So all of a sudden I'm sitting at, well, when you include today's profit, $230,000 on the month. Imagine if I had taken this whole week off. I hate to think about that. And that's why I don't take weeks off, because you just never know. I show up every single day because you just never know when things are going to pick up. So now all of a sudden we look at the year, and my best month was July at 232,000. And just like that, October is tied up. Just about. Yeah. Well, pretty much. We're pretty much tied up here for October as of right now. And well, let's again look back at the month of October and the calendar, how much time we have left. So we still have all of next week and then 4 more days. We've got 9 trading days left in the month. So, whatever happens with drug today, look, maybe it goes high or maybe it doesn't. The challenge with it is that, look at the spreads. You're dealing with bigger spreads. We have had some big buyers. We've had some big sellers. I've seen 50,000 share buyers. I've seen 50,000 share sellers. So a 50,000 share order, you're talking about $2.5 million orders. There's some people out there with really big accounts who are trying to push this around a little bit. They're trying to scare people, maybe, or they're trying to get a short filled, or I don't know what they're doing. But when you've got orders of that size, I saw 4 of them at the same time. So that was 200,000 shares. So that's $10 million in orders that was sitting on the book at one point. 4 orders for 50,000 shares each. So whoa, someone out there has a huge account. That's scary. Now look at how fast this just dropped to 52. See how it tapped 55? And this is where I keep getting smoked, is I get in thinking it's going to halt up, and then all of a sudden I'm down $3 a share. And I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? You do that with 4,000 shares, you're down 12 grand. In an instant. Look at that, 40,000 share buyer there at 54. So in a way, this is kind of like what we were seeing, but what's happening? Is that going to go away? Yep. So someone just bought that many shares at 54. And interesting, usually when it drops like that, you would expect the stock to drop, but they get bought up at 54 and then this goes higher. That's an unusual pattern. It goes to 55.85. It pushes to a new high. But then back to 53, back to 52, right? So you get the idea. This is some really tricky stuff. And look, even if it goes to $75, even if it goes to $100 a share, it's not going to get a lot easier. So the way I typically trade, I'm trying to move in and out of these pretty quickly, right? This is a type of stock where you're going to do better if you buy a dip and you set a stop and you don't look. You don't overtrade it. Because overtrading it with these spreads, you're going to get in, you're going to get out, you're going to get in, you're going to get out, you're going to get chopped up. So you kind of have to just look at how much this is chopped. Now it's back to 57, from 52 to 57. So even if it was 200 shares, it's just set it and just don't look for a minute, which is not really the way most of us want to trade, if we're going to be honest. I mean, you set your stop on it, of course, but still, that's not how most of us trade. So you've got 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 green candles in a row. You've got some bottoming tails. You've got some topping tails. You've got big spreads. You've got some risk. And for those of you guys taking big size, you have my respect. That's now 100,000 shares on the bid right there. So that's a big buy order pushing it into this halt. So now what's it going to do? Is it going to open higher? We'll see. We'll see where it opens. Now it's not even showing a resumption price. So usually they do. This one isn't even showing one. That's just kind of unusual. Resumption price should come up here in a second. But yeah, my kind of target on this was a move back to 59.86. And look, I had the right idea. I had the right idea, but my timing was just not quite right. Showing crazy resumptions right now, $250 a share. It's not, I can't imagine it would open at that price. Most likely it's going to come down. But we don't know how badly buried some shorts are. Considering we were seeing 200,000 shares of buy orders, This might open pretty high. But gosh, if it opens, see, this is, I have to say, if this opens at $250, that would be literally insane. You want to know why it would be insane? Because this stock would have never gone from 57 straight to 250 in one candle. That would never happen, right? I've never seen something like that happen. So I guess we did see TNON that went up pretty quickly, but it trades up. It doesn't just magically open at that number. So the fact that this is now showing this kind of crazy high number, 450, 250, I think it's going to come down. I think most likely people are going to start putting out sell orders. It's going to bring it back down. But this mechanism of halts really is it's kind of crazy because of the way it affects, it just sort of like, it makes it so if you're short, you could get trapped. Let's say you shorted that at 48 or 58 thinking, or whatever, 57 thinking it's going to double top at 59.86, which you probably will, right? That would be logical. It double tops at that level, then it comes down. You short it and now it's showing a $250 resumption. Oh my gosh, what are you supposed to do with that? Resumption's coming down, don't worry. Now it's 150, right? So this may be a long halt. Shares are, I can't borrow any shares at Lightspeed. They have none available. So I don't know. This is just, it's going to give me a little FOMO, of course, if it does open that high, but I just don't expect it will. I think that sellers will come out and bring it back down. I think what sometimes happens here is when it goes into a halt, you can have someone that just has big buy orders, and it kind of creates FOMO in a way, but it's showing that resumption imbalance. So it'll probably come back down, but anyway, so that was drug. We talked about Peggy. Did we talk about Sober, SOBR? SOBR had this big move yesterday. Yep, got those trades on that. I think I talked about that already. Peggy, let's see. So, yep, that was that bottom there on that one. So this morning, I was kind of like, so my first trade was 5,000. Second trade, then I was up 10, 15,000. Next trade, got myself to up 20,000. I sat at 22 for a little bit. And then we had drug, and that gave me like that really nice second winner. So jumped up to like 37,000. And then next thing you know, it just all of a sudden I'm sitting at $50,000 on the day. And what ended up happening was pretty much, I pushed my luck a little bit too much. I took quite a lot of risk. I got aggressive on a few different stocks, and I ended up, giving back 10K off the top. And that's where I said, all right, you know what? All's well that ends well. Let's take this profit. Let's be grateful for what you've got. This has been a fantastic week. I'm just so thrilled to see this kind of momentum in the market. It started with drug. It's ending with drug. So, it's kind of funny. This stock drug was what really sparked, the beginning of the move. And now it looks like it's going to be kind of continuing it. So I do feel a little silly that I managed to give back profit trading it, but I don't think I could possibly buy it back at, $75 or $100 a share after having stopped out in the 40s. So you got to be grateful for what you've got. And, if you look at the action, you think, boy, wish I had done a little better. And then, look at those charts and ask yourself what you could have done differently. In the case of drug, I unfortunately, because the spreads were so big, I wasn't super inclined to buy pullbacks. I was really waiting for breakouts. I just didn't want to buy pullbacks and then catch a rug pull where all of a sudden it dumps. But in fact, there were some nice entries off support on this one. And there probably will continue to be as the day goes on. So for those of you guys that keep trading, I would watch those pullbacks off support. I would look for those dip entries, and also potentially keep your eye open for sympathy, because there may be some sympathy momentum. There may be some other stocks that that pop up that traders are more attracted to. Because here's also a reality. At $57 a share, this is expensive. A lot of people can't really afford it. So you get to a stock where people can't really afford it, you're going to have less volume, and then the breakouts probably are going to be more false breakouts. You'll have some short covering, but the breakouts aren't going to be as big. So that's one of the reasons, by the way, I jumped on AIFF, which I lost on. AIFF was a bit of a sympathy stock to drug, and so I thought that this was going to work, but it did not work. That one was a disappointment. And then Peggy, you know, this one. Yeah. So I don't know if we will, in fact, get sympathy momentum. We may not, but it is something to keep an eye out for. And for those of you guys that have the risk tolerance to trade something like drug, I would say just wait for pullbacks. Make sure you're thinking about risk first. And it is probably worth noting that stocks like this, there is some risk of it being halted by regulators. It went up 2,000% on Wednesday and it didn't get halted. Today, it does have news about that private placement at $21 a share. So that news is what's created this move. So I don't know. It may not get halted, but it's not impossible. You know, so just that's something that's also worth keeping in mind, just because you know, that could be certainly a problem. So right now we're showing a resumption of $156, $153. Now what's interesting about that is the last print was at 10:38. So if it was a 5-minute resumption, it would have resumed at 10:43, and it did not resume at 10:43 because the resumption price was so high. So we also don't know. Now this gets a little complicated. If the resumption price is, there's a certain threshold, and if the resumption price is higher than a certain threshold, it will be guaranteed a 10-minute long halt. And it can even be a 15-minute long, 20-minute long, 30-minute long halt. So if you had $10 million in your account and you put out a buy order to buy $10 million of this stock, that buy order alone, while the market's halted, would probably create a $100, $200 resumption. Now, let's just say for a second you did that, knowing it would create such a high resumption that the stock will remain halted. During that time, you're calling your broker and you're saying, get me shares to borrow. I want to short this. Get me shares, get me shares, get me shares. You finally, it takes 15, 20 minutes to get the shares. You finally get the shares, you cancel your buy order. Now the resumption goes back to being $57 and you're ready to short. I wouldn't put it past a short seller to do something like that. Not for a second. I think that actually could be probable. So the way we would know is where it resumes at. Now, if it actually resumes at $200 a share, the resumption is showing 80, 90 right now. If it actually resumes that high, then we know that it's actually just someone probably who is short and is panic covering, and it's a massive loss. But if the resumption magically comes back down to 57 after being halted for 15, 20, 30 minutes, then that tells me that someone had a huge order and all of a sudden that order got pulled. That's what that kind of tells me. Again, not 100%, that's what's happening here, but I've seen that happen before, and that's kind of the rationale for why it would happen. Now, in the interim, there are other traders who may be doing the same thing. They're calling their broker, they're saying, hey, can you find me shares? Can you find me shares? So right now, when I go into Lightspeed and I say locate, it says no shares available. They can't find shares, but I could always call them and say, hey, can you guys call everyone you know and see if you can find shares? And what we know about naked short selling is that some of these brokers will override. They'll just give you shares. They'll say, you want, yeah, we'll give you shares. And they do it on the reason of belief that they think that they'll be able to find those shares. Now, if they can't find those shares, then, you know, then of course that's a major problem. And that's, well, you're not allowed to do this anyways, naked short selling, but we know that it happens. So I'll just put this up here, just for you guys to check out. So this is this naked short seller. I'm going to play it through my speakers and I'll just mute my audio so you can hear it. Okay, so this is from Gaming Wall Street, the HBO documentary. You should be able to hear it.
You have folks that are still, you know, in the industry, and they've been like, I wouldn't advise you to talk about it, blah, 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 blah. But I think that they're living, you know, they're all living in kind of a fake world. You know, I would, you know, illegally naked short sell stocks every day, as long as I was collecting commissions. And the bank did not care. The client will say.
So he says the bank will not care. So what he's going to say, he's now going to say that a client sends you an order and they say, I want these shares to borrow, and you're supposed to find the shares. And then if you can't find the shares, you just, well, he'll say it. I don't need it.
Send you an order electronically. All you do is you click on the order, you go to execute, it'll pull up a little box, you type in anything you want, and you just hit okay. You don't ask questions. You appreciate the order. And if that involves shorting a stock naked, you do it anyway.
So, there you go. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening on drug. It may not be, but it could be. So, this stock had a crazy move last week, or on Wednesday, just 2 days ago. It feels like a long time because I've been doing so much trading here. But it had this crazy move, and then all of a sudden, it looks like it's on the backside. It looks like it's dead. It looks like it's unwinding. So you might have people who are swing trading it to the short side, waiting for it to come back down to 10. And then all of a sudden, look at that. Look how fast that went from 20 to 60. And you know what? It's easy for me to be feeling a little bit of son of a gun. How did I not do better on this? I think that people who are in kind of a performance-based sport are always their biggest critique. You get critical of yourself. You kind of critique your performance. I coulda, shoulda, woulda, da. But it's like you won the Super Bowl. Like, don't get too bent out of shape. You're sitting at $40,000. It's still a great day. $16,000. It's some good profit. I mean, I'm glad I'm not red 16,000. I'm glad I'm not short it. I mean, obviously what I'm doing is working. So sometimes you have to give yourself a little pep talk and remind yourself that life's good and there's always gonna be another one around the corner. And to be honest, I didn't even trade drug on Wednesday. I didn't even touch it. And yet I still ended up having a $200,000 week. What was this? This was Tuesday, I guess. Doesn't matter though. So I didn't even trade it because it happened outside my window. Now, funny enough, I did trade this and I'm green on it, but the trades I took a little outside my window here, which is past kind of like 10 a.m., this is where I started to struggle. So I don't know. Maybe it's just, I don't know what it is, but it doesn't matter. So ATNF, that one's popping up a little bit here. Let's see what this chart looks like. Okay. Yeah, so it's nice to see that bouncing up there, pushing a little higher. ATNF. Yeah, just looking at the level 2 on it. The halt level 763. Interesting. So, all right. Well, that's it for me. I hope you guys had a great day. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. I'll be back at it first thing Monday morning. Those of you guys who want to learn more about warrior trading, I'll put some links in the description so you can check out one of my free classes, or you could do a 2-week trial and join us next week. And we'd love to have you. The market's really hot right now. There's oops, sorry, I'll turn down my speakers. So the market's hot right now. It's definitely worth paying attention to what's going on. And hopefully I'll see a lot of you guys in the chat room next week. All right, have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys on Monday. Reminder as always, trading is risky. My results aren't typical, so manage your risk, take it slow, and always practice in a simulator before you put real money on the line.